Hey everybody, I hope you're doing wonderful, and today I want to show you the easiest way to pay your collaborators automatically using this one simple tool. So the tool we're going to be talking about today is the distributor DistroKid, which actually sponsored this video today. So huge shout out to DistroKid for doing that. I'm a small channel, so I'm grateful about everybody who puts their trust in my channel. Quickly, what is DistroKid? If you want to get your music on Spotify or on all the other platforms and even get that little note on YouTube, you can do it with a distributor such as DistroKid, and you might use my link. But what we are talking about today is one maybe overlooked feature. While we're on the topic of featuring, I want to show you the feature called Splits. So imagine you're working with some artists, and every time some money gets in, you have to start thinking about how much do I have to pay this guitarist, how much do I have to pay the rapper, how much do I have to pay the sound engineer, depending on how the royalties are supposed to be set up. And that can be really tricky. One of my friends is working with a big label, and she made a song that got around 2 million streams, and only every 6 months they pay out the money, which it takes some time to process. I get that, but the process that DistroKid Splits uses is much easier. Let me just select this release here and actually feature some featuring artists, and let's quickly switch it up. All you have to do is select your track or your album. Currently we don't have any collaborators, but I'm gonna add a collaborator like this. I know that Layden has worked on the song. Let's say he gets 50% because that's what we agreed on. And now, every time that DistroKid collects the royalties from Spotify, from Apple Music, from wherever your song is being listened to, the money doesn't just go to you, but it actually immediately gets split, and only that revenue share that is actually supposed to come to you will go to you. So you don't have to collect it all and then calculate how much should I PayPal this friend, how much to that one. Instead, everybody who also uses DistroKid can be added here, and if I add another collaborator, let's say on this song, we had one guitarist who will get, no, we're not going to be generous here, 5%. Right, it immediately deducts that from my revenue share. It's really as simple as that. You can add as many people as you want to. The only condition is that everybody has to have DistroKid as well. But in my opinion, it's quite affordable. And if you would only get it for the splits and you can get % off with my code, I assume that could be worth it if you are a serious artist, even if you don't release through DistroKid. But if you do, I mean, you have an unlimited amount of releases. Depending on how many artist names you have, you might have to get a different plan for a different amount of money. I think it's quite easy to use. It has some nice perks such as this. Let's say I'm going to select another version. Still the same. Instead of collaborator, we're going to add recoupments. What does that mean now? We're going to add a collaborator. Let's say we have a mixing engineer who agrees to get $500. Add someone new. Until your song has reached an amount of $500, only this person, who is the first recoup person, is going to get money. If your song reaches only $499, you're not going to see any money from that. Only that person is going to see it. But after 500, you're going to get however many % you set up. You can select another recuperator. Let's say Layden gets $500 as well. So we have to earn $1,000 with our release before we're going to earn anything. But I think that makes it much easier if you have some more complicated contract, because you don't always have to get out your calculator. Instead, this happens automatically and you don't have to worry about the money, and the people don't have to worry about not getting paid. And now we want to take a look at how that looks as a receiving artist. Okay, now we are here in Puzzle's artist profile, and she is featured on a lot of songs. So we're quickly going to go to her bank and going to see how that looks as the artist who receives the money. And we can see breakdown by song. Here is the song Are We, where she receives 50% of splits. Comparing this number of streams to this number of streams to also Are We can see that for a higher amount of streams she got less money, which is because now 50% of the splits go to her collaborator. What's interesting is, in this example, she actually uploaded that song without splits because the other person didn't have DistroKid at that time, up until the point where she installed this split here. She got all the money and she had to manually transfer the money to her collaborator. But now, after the time that the other person also got DistroKid and was added to the splits, everything is going automatically, which is much easier. But we see that splits don't work retroactively. In the best case, everyone already has access to a DistroKid account, and we can add the people on splits before. For this song, she is a featuring artist on one song on the album by Chroma and AWOL. She gets 10% of the splits to that song. So for 50,000 streams, that's $18, and she doesn't have to do anything to get the money. They don't have to do anything to send it to her. So it's quite easy. We can go on breakdown by artists, and we can see before we had $18, But she also earns a percentage of everybody who bought or streamed the full album by Chroma and AWOL, because depending on the amount of the songs, the full revenue of the album is also going to get broken down another time. So yeah, for the album, she actually receives, it says 0% of splits, but it's just a very small amount because she only gets 10% of one of the album songs. But if, for example, you would get 50% of a 4-track EP, then you would get 12.5% of the full EP's sales price. I hope my math is correct right now, but this is how it essentially should be working. Splits, by the way, can only be added after the song was released. So you really see how easy it is. There are some other nice perks that you can take into account. For example, you can add unlimited collaborators to any track. So it makes it much easier if you're working with a big orchestra or a big band and everybody gets a small slice of the cake. It's much easier to add all these people. You can change the splits at any time, as you've seen in the example of puzzles. But the money that you have earned up until the point of change, it won't be changed. You can add or remove collaborators at any time. You can go back in time and see previous splits as well. For privacy reasons, collaborators can only see the amount of splits that they get. So even if you're working with 5 people, they won't be able to see how much the other people get. So I think that's kind of useful in case someone has a better deal than the other one, they can just see it and get jealous. And as I said, if your collaborators don't have a DistroKid account, they can really get started for $10 a year, which is not the world, especially if you have a song that's performing relatively well. I think you can spare those $10 to simplify your accounting by a lot. By the way, a release will not be delayed if a collaborator is slower to sign up. So if you add somebody to a split and they don't accept the email invitation yet, the money will just be reserved. And by the time that they sign up with DistroKid, they're actually going to get all the money at once. If, for example, your collaborator never accepts your email invitation, you can always remove them and all the money that has been saved up will go to your bank account. So it's not like that it's just going to get lost in the void. Just to point out once more, thanks to DistroKid for sponsoring this. DistroKid never takes a cut, so you get 100% of the royalties of your songs. You and your collaborators will get 100% of the total earnings, and it's just being simplified by DistroKid Splits and by the new recoupment feature, which can also come in very handy. If this was useful to you, consider subscribing to Nick Jacobs 2, where I'm going to be posting all this kind of tutorial content, because on this channel I really want to focus on music, and if you are here to learn more about music marketing and music production, head over to that channel because I'm going to populate it with new and interesting videos in the near future. If you watched until here, comment with a remote emoji. Have a nice day. Goodbye.